Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous. Attention is the oxygen of the human soul. A few of us who cannot gain attention by doing good will seek it by doing evil. At 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday, May 24th, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, who did not have a driver's license, crashed his grandparents' four-door silver Ford truck at high speed into a ditch near the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. He then entered through an unlocked back door, barged into a classroom, and using an AR-15 style automatic rifle, killed 19 children who had graduated from 4th grade just a few minutes earlier. He also killed their two teachers. This was a mere 11 days after another 18-year-old shooter with an AR-15 assault rifle had killed 10 people in a Tops supermarket in Buffalo, New York. It was also the 213th mass shooting and the 30th at a school in the United States this year. Yes, in the last 6 months. No other nation on planet Earth has this track record of mass shootings. So what is going on here, and what in the world can we do about it? First, there's the problem of bullying. Ramos had a stutter and a lisp. He was bullied mercilessly in guess where? School. He retaliated by picking fights and by becoming a loner. For Ramos, the bullying turned school into a hell, so in his last year of high school, Ramos stayed away as much as he could. His classmates were due to graduate high school on Friday, May 27th, but with his poor attendance record, Ramos was about to become a high school dropout. Meanwhile, Ramos came from a family that was comfortably middle class but troubled. His grandparents owned 2 houses in Uvalde. His grandfather installed air conditioning for a living. But Ramos' grandfather also had a criminal record, and Ramos' mother had a drug problem. Ramos had a big fight with his mom when he deliberately disconnected her Wi-Fi 2 months before the shooting. One neighbor says that it took 8 police to stop just one of Ramos' fights. After the fight over the Wi-Fi, Ramos moved out of his mom's home and into the home of his grandfather and grandmother. But this did not end the family strife. Ramos' grandmother owned the house across town where Ramos had been raised, and she was about to evict her own daughter, Ramos' mom. The day of the killing, Ramos' grandmother had a fight with him about an unpaid telephone bill and about not graduating high school. However, Ramos had decided on a new way to end confrontations. Ramos had been known for carrying boxing gloves and challenging other kids to fights. But a week before the Robb Elementary School massacre, Ramos had celebrated his 18th birthday by buying 2 multi-thousand-dollar Daniel Defense AR-15 style rifles, a big upgrade over boxing gloves. Wired magazine points out that AR-15 rifles are designed to explode their bullets inside of you with the force of a grenade. They are designed to mutilate you beyond recognition, which is why identifying Ramos' victims would be so hard. Meanwhile, on May 9th, just 2 weeks before the shooting, Ramos had begun FaceTiming every day with a 15-year-old girl in Germany. On the morning of the shooting, he texted her that he was about to resolve his differences with his grandmother by shooting her. He shot his grandmother in the face. Then he texted that he'd done the deed to the 15-year-old girl in Germany. Next, he jumped into his grandparents' truck and headed for Robb Elementary School. But there's a good chance that he was no longer sane. Ramos' only friends said he'd recently changed. One day, Ramos had shown up for basketball with cuts on his face. At first, he said a cat had scratched him. Then he confessed that he'd inflicted those cuts on himself with a knife. But there were more clues to Ramos' possible insanity. Ramos had a day job at Wendy's. When he got into tiffs with his female coworkers, he would ask, "Do you know who I am?" That's a clue to a psychotic delusional state, a state in which you feel that you have been chosen by God for a special purpose. Another clue to a delusional state is Ramos' online handle, Salv8Door, which may be an attempt to imply that he's a savior. Then there's his disconnecting his mother's Wi-Fi, a possible effort to stop receiving messages from aliens or God. But that's not the only sickness responsible for this mass killing. The United States suffers from the disease of gun addiction. Texas has open carry laws, meaning that people in the crowd waiting for word of their children's fate outside of Robb Elementary School on the day of the shooting included at least one man openly carrying a gun. The National Rifle Association says the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. But former Homeland Security official Juliette Kayyem points out that if this were true, America would be the safest nation on earth. There are only 330 million people in the USA, but there are more than 390 million guns. What do we do to stop the slaughter? We need a system of background checks that will pick up on details like the 6 police who showed up at Ramos's home because of a serious fight. And we need to go back to a ban on automatic weapons, a ban that one study says lowered mass shooting deaths by 70% when it was in force from 1994 to 2004. Look, we are the nation that invented the school shooting. We can't allow mass shootings to be a part of America's daily routine. This is Howard Bloom speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make.